so people can make more money. And war is money. That means what? That the European American is not about to prepare black children to compete with his children for control of the economic sector. It's not going to happen. So if black people want this science, we got to teach it, we got to study it, and we're going to have to make some mistakes in perfecting it because we're still babies in the water of global economic commerce. As African people, we are financially illiterate. So we should not be surprised that we're so economically backward because we were never taught how to be economically forward. Our education in America has not provided or prepared us to be able to compete with Europeans economically. The historically black college was designed to do what? Teach you how to work for white people. Public schools, charter schools, parochial schools, independent schools. What is the purpose of education in America for black children right now? To teach them how to make a living working for white people. But I don't want the kids coming to my school to be going to class thinking that I'm learning this so I can go and get paid by a white person. They're going to be empowered to start their own business. When they leave that school, they're going to go into business. And why do we need our people to be self-sufficient? Because when you're not self-sufficient, you can't speak your mind. One of the biggest reasons why black people have been so cowardly in the post-civil rights movement, not standing up for ourselves, standing up for our children, standing up against police brutality, we're scared to lose our jobs. We have to work. We got kids. I can't talk about the racism on my job. I might lose it. So the reason why we're not speaking our mind is because we don't have economic freedom. As Mr. Garvey said, Marcus Garvey said, that a solid racial program must be built on a solid economic foundation. Show me your economic condition, and I'll show you your political condition. The political economy of the black community rests on the premise that because they do not make their own money, they are enslaved to Europeans. And as a result of that, they will never be able to do what needs to be done to carve out a future for their children, because the hand that pays is also the hand that rules.
Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Charles Tyler. Charles, it's your show.
How you doing there, V? All right,
brother. Terrific.
Yeah, man, that's very powerful right there. I've been checking out Dr. Umar Johnson for a while now. Ever since actually I got to he came on my scope with Hidden Colors. Okay, and then I've been checking him out ever since, and I'm really, really, really happy to have him take time out of his very busy schedule to come on the show tonight. Dr. Umar Johnson, are you online?
Yes, sir.
How you doing there, brother?
Peace and love, all is well.
All is well, all is well, all is good. A lot of our audience out there are major followers of you, and to have you on the show it's an honor in my opinion. Okay, and definitely, brother. Now I'm still learning a lot more about you. I'm surprised. You're also from Philadelphia too as well.
Yes, sir.
It's like I said, when I was like, I know you from somewhere, okay? And I had a feeling that, yeah, definitely we have crossed paths somewhere, down the line and everything like that. But, it definitely, your message is so relevant and true in today's society, especially now. Especially the black young man is definitely under attack in this country. And sadly to say, a lot of them don't even know it. Okay. That's what I see at least. They don't believe it. When I tell them about the shows that we watch on TV, mainly coming from the entertainment, realm and everything like that, it's like, it's entertainment. Why don't you take it in like that? I'm like, no, it's teaching us being thugs and criminals. That's not the way to go. And also going back into the education as well. If especially here in Philadelphia and also Pittsburgh, they closed down a lot of schools. In fact, they just recently tore down my old high school. Okay, University City High. They closed down my father's high school, Germantown High School, You know, and in fact, they merged Germantown and Martin Luther King together, which were two heated rivals for many years. You know, and they just, you know, like I said, Governor Corbin came into Pennsylvania and he did his job. Now was to destroy the public school system and build more prisons. Okay, you know, so I just wanted to get your insight on, you know, what is going on in the world, you know, and a lot of people we gotta probably have, in probably in a few minutes we're gonna be bringing in callers as well. And I wanted to get your spew. Not to mention, also, I wanted to talk about your, you know, the donations for your schools. You know, the Marcus Garvey, Frederick Douglass, you know, school down there in, I believe that's down there in Maryland, correct? Am I right?
Yeah, the school we're trying to purchase is in Virginia, St. Paul's College.
Virginia, yes. Okay. Okay, and we want to also get the links out there. I'm going to put them out in our Facebook groups for this, you know, so we more donations for that. I think that is a wonderful idea. We don't want to lose that property. You know, they graduated their last class last year.
2013, 2 years ago.
2013. Okay, yes. Oh man. Well, yeah, we definitely want to hold on to that property of history. You know, and keep that growing right there. Now, you know, can I just ask you a question? Do you see, as I see, you know, that today's rap culture is definitely damaging, you know, a lot of young people's minds and everything like that. I'm talking about as far as we walking around, young men walking around with their pants hanging down and everything like that. You know, the women, they just literally, oh my God, we, you know, walking around with the, you know, with the all cosmetics in their hair or weave and all this other stuff. What is your insight on that? You know, what do you have to say about that in today's young culture?
A couple things. One, going back to your first question about the public school elimination campaign in America, that was actually conceived of back in 1990. So 1980 was the era of the CIA's cocaine movement, chemical warfare against the black community. The decade of the 1990s was the planning of two major campaigns. One was the public school elimination campaign, and the other was the white gentrification of the black community campaign. And those two are related because the charter school really has been the weapon of choice in the gentrification movement. In other words, taking back the inner cities of America, not just Philadelphia, but most major cities, the gentrification campaign tucked under the charter school campaign. So basically, if white people decide that they want to take back a certain section of the city, they would open up charter schools, which appeared to be for the children. Once they opened up the charter schools for what we thought would be for our children, that opened the way for white people to move back into the ghettos, buy up the houses, the apartments, the vacant lots, so forth and so on. And over the course of 5 or 10 years, the complexion of that neighborhood where the charter school was open begins to transform itself from black to white. So the charter school is a weapon of gentrification as well as a major supporter and instrument of the public school elimination campaign. And the reason public school is being eliminated primarily because they don't need it anymore. Education was for industry. You received an education so you could work for industry. But with no industry being available, there's no need for a public education, especially for black people who are largely being replaced in the economic order with Latinos and Mexicans and other brown people from the second and third world. So there's definitely no useful relevance of a public education for black folks. The other piece that has to also be borne in mind is that the United States Department of Education was created in 1980. It is not that old. It is a very good institution. And so people need to understand that education was never the prerogative of the federal government until the 80s, and that was only because of Special Ed Title I and JROTC, the military program. So other than that, the feds really don't have much to do with education. As far as hip-hop and the role that it's playing in the destruction of the consciousness of young blacks, it's not hip-hop that's the problem. The problem is that we have an alternative to hip-hop's influence on our youth. White supremacy is the default program for everything. So if you don't have an economic program of your own, white supremacy has capitalism. If you don't have a health system of your own, white supremacy has eugenics. If you don't have a school system of your own, they have public education. If you don't have an entertainment system of your own, well, then they got gangster rap and a white-controlled black music industry. So whenever we don't have a system of our own, white supremacy always has a default. So it's not hip-hop. The problem is us. And the reason why so many black children are caught up in hip-hop is because there's not enough role models in the immediate neighborhood where they live. So they have to go on television and radio to find role models, successful black people who they would want to emulate, because most of the black people in the neighborhood, as soon as they get their education and receive some degree of success, they run away from the neighborhood and move to the suburbs. So it's not rap. I mean, rap is only the default. Gangster rap is only the default because the black community is not doing what it should.
Okay, that's all right. You know what? To hear it from you, it sounds a whole lot more understandable. You know, because I've been sort of like I said, we're up in our 40s here. Okay, and it's not like the rap that we listened to back in the day, you know, X-Clan, Public Enemy. Rap with conscience. Okay. You know, then we had NW, you know, especially with the new Straight Outta Compton movie out, you know, NWA, looking at that also explained to me how the industry works. Yes, it's controlled by white folks, you know, white supremacy. Okay. And of course, they want to keep the negative, you know, shoot your brother, shoot your sister, all right? You know, sell drugs, all that other stuff to keep us, you know, look, this is as far as you go. No rap about empowerment, building our neighborhoods, putting our money back in our neighborhoods, okay? Not going out there and get the latest pair of Air Force Ones, you know, or the latest pair of Michael Jordan sneakers that cost, you know, $300 or $400. You know, we as economic, definitely, as you said before, you know, we're illiterate, you know, and that therefore the man will always have his foot on our neck. Okay.
Well, another part of the equation too that separates us from other cultures in this country, white as well as non-white culture, we are not grounded in a collective consciousness that is rooted in our culture. We are not grounded in a collective consciousness that is rooted in our culture. In other words, when a Chinese sees another Chinese, even if they do not know each other, they can take certain assumptions for granted. He automatically knows that other Chinese man is Chinese first. He automatically knows that the other Chinese man is likely to speak his own language, is likely to hold the mother country in a higher regard. When the Jew sees another Jew, there's certain things that they don't even have to discuss because it's a part of the collective consciousness that they are going to serve the Jewish economic interests first, that they're not going to share power. Every culture has a collective consciousness, a core set of beliefs and values that are rooted in who they are, from which they all operate. So no matter how different they may be, at a core level, they share some things in common. Black people are not like that. When you see another black man on the street, you cannot assume that he cares about his people. You cannot assume that he loves black women. You cannot assume that he has a connection to Africa. You cannot assume that he has the best interest of his community. We do not have a collective consciousness. So every time you meet a black person,
you have to actually begin from square one as it relates to understanding their worldview. Because we don't have a collective consciousness. And religion has helped to further that divide in collective consciousness because our culture was replaced with religious beliefs. So the way we did things in a collectivist manner as African people was taken from us, and in its place we was given religious doctrine. And when we was given the religious doctrine, it was socialized in our community in a very Eurocentric manner, which means that we basically believe that our religion is the only right one, and if you don't belong to my religion, you are somehow less than me, and that there's something inherently wrong with your religion, which is very Eurocentric, because none of the religions are accepting of others. They say they are, but in practice, they are not. So the fact that we don't have that collective consciousness is at the core root of many of the problems that we have.
Now, when you say religion, like, for example, Christianity, to me, I believe Christianity has been altered. It's technically our history right there. It's just like, 90% of the world history itself. The true Hebrews there, they were black. Okay?
Right.
Jesus Christ was
right.
But
we're not talking about the doctrine of the religion itself. We're talking about the manner in which the religion is taught and practiced. Christians are very Eurocentric in their belief that Christianity is the only right way. Muslims are very Eurocentric in their belief that Islam is the only right way. Hebrews are very Eurocentric in their belief that Hebrewism is the only right way. The minute you start saying that my spiritual system is better than yours, you have stepped out of African collectivism and you have stepped into European arrogant and monolithic thinking. You see, so it's not the history. We know that the founders of all those religions were of African origin, but the manner in which they're taught, the divisive energy, the competition of the egocentric manner of saying that we're better than you. We know more than you. Our religion is right. Yours is wrong. That's not African. We're very collectivist. We allow people the right to worship the Most High in the way that they deem necessary. We don't have a need to debate about it. We don't have a need to argue about it. We may discuss it. But even then, it's not that relevant because your walk to God is your walk to God. I cannot determine your walk to God, and you cannot determine mine. But the minute you start saying that this book, and none of them are transcribed by black folks, every religious text is published by something other than the African. So that's not ours. Okay? The information may have originally been African, but the manner in which it's being produced and the money being made up is not ours. So we have to look at, even with black consciousness, it's not just religion. Even with black consciousness, we're very Eurocentric in the way we catholicize, the way in which we teach and bring people into consciousness. It's very hierarchical. This one is better than this one. He knows more than this one. There's no room for participation in reconciliation and collaboration. That's what we need. We need participation, reconciliation, and collaboration, not competition, not division. That is the problem. So the product might be African, but the manner in which it's taught is very European.
Man, like I said, I heard one of your speakings before, especially on the Breakfast Club, the way you broke things down. It's like it's always, every time I listen to you, it's kind of an opening mind thing right here. And that's what our group is all about. Keeping brothers' minds open about new things, especially even old things going in here. We have a lot of callers that want to come in. They want to have a word in with you, Dr. Umar Johnson. V, can we pull our first caller?
Yes, first call is from area code 646. Your mic is open.
646?
Okay.
Hello?
Let's go to the next one. 510 area code. Your mic is open. 510 area code. Okay, we got to move on because we had a bunch of calls here. Area code 919. Your mic is open.
Hello, Charles. Hello, Dr. Johnson. How you doing today?
How you doing there, brother? Peace, bro.
Oh, I'm doing great, man. First of all, I wanted to thank you, Dr. Johnson, for getting on the call. And pardon my ignorance, I actually didn't know who you were until I started listening to Charles Tyler's show, and then I looked you up, via YouTube and some other stuff. And, man, I definitely appreciate, all of the knowledge and information you're putting out there. A lot of young brothers definitely need to hear this. And it's even opened my mind. I definitely like to consider myself, conscious and open to the type of stuff you're saying. So much appreciated. But so I ask my question quickly and then get off the line and get your answer. My thing is, based on a lot of stuff that I hear you say overall, it seems like one of the biggest problems I see is too many brothers are playing. Like, the main thing I see is difference between, like, white folks and black folks is white folks seem to play the long game when it comes to time. I'm talking about thinking, like, 50 years, 100 years down the road, or let's say in generations, like their kids, their grandkids, their grandkids, versus I see a lot of us, we don't tend to think that way. I don't even see a lot of people I know that think really 10, 15, 20 years ahead, let alone thinking about their grandkids and stuff like that. My question to you is this. What do you think is like the average, black man's responsibility when it comes to African Americans, kind of the things that we need to understand, whether it be like history in the last 30 years, whether it be what we need to do to contribute to things such as like your school, and then Charles, like what you're trying to do with the Brazil raffle, and then things like that, given we have things like the internet, so it makes it easier for us to kind of communicate, support each other. That's it.
The worst form of hell that any oppressed group can suffer is to be dependent upon your oppressor for your daily needs. That's the worst form of hell. To know that the person you must look to for your job, that you must look to for your housing, your clothing, your health care, the person that you must look to get these needs met, absolutely cannot stand you. And I'm saying that to say that the only way we're going to be able to lessen the blow or the impact that white supremacy has on us as the people is to build our own institutions. You don't eliminate white supremacy's impact because you live in a country controlled by white racism. So you can't eliminate it, but you can reduce it by weaning your people off of their dependence of the white power structure. Institution building is where all of us should be focused. The nationalists, the socialists, the integrationists, the Nation of Islam, the Hebrew, the Moor, the Nawabian, the God in earth, the Muslim, the Christian, everyone should be focused on building institutions for our people. Schools, supermarkets, hospitals, factories, distribution. We're the only non-white folks in this country without distribution. Chinese have their own distribution. Latinos have their own distribution. Arabs have their own distribution. East Indians have their own distribution. Logistics, the moving of things from one place to another, is one of the top businesses on the planet. Not just in this country, but on the planet. No matter what you make, it must be shipped. It must be driven. It must be blown. It must be bloated. And so we have to get serious about distribution. We have to get serious about production. We do not manufacture. That is a big weakness of ours. We do not manufacture. We are only consumers. When a people do not manufacture anything, they cannot track the money in their community. We often hear about how the white dollar goes around 12 times, and the Latino dollar goes around 18 times, and the Chinese dollar goes around 16 times. Well, you know why it's able to go around? Not just because they're loyal to each other and to their own businesses, but they manufacture. When people produce things that recycle the dollar. But when people do not produce anything that their community needs, how can you track the dollar in the community? From a food chain perspective, we are the lowest feeder in the human food chain. We are the food. We are the vermin. We are the maggots that all the other races feed upon for their wealth, because we have no economic infrastructure. That's why the Chinese can rape your dollar, the Mexican can rape your dollar, the Latino can rape your dollar, the Jew, the Anglo-Saxon, the Arab, and the list goes on. People are flying in from all over the planet to come to the ghettos of America. Look at this. Look at this now. You have non-white people flying in from the other six continents to come in and get rich off the black dollar, while we sit around talking about we can't build it unless we get help from the government. We can't build it unless Obama gives us an economic stimulus package. We can't build it unless we get a grant from Walmart or the Rockefellers or something like that. We don't need no outside help. The problem is the same unconscious programming that operated in the psyche of the Negro in slavery is the same unconscious programming that's operating in the psyche of the Negro right now in the 21st century. We are of the same subconscious conditioning. We still are not interested in building for ourselves. We still care about other people more than ourselves. We still love religion more than we love the community. And we still are too lazy to take the economic and political risks necessary for everyone else's feet. If we stay at the bottom, we are doomed to extinction.
Well, my thing is like this. Does that also have to do with the Willie Lynch letter? The crabs in the barrel mentality of the black man. That's my thing right there, because we're always jealous of each other.
Okay. Without question. Black people don't like to see other people progress. But why is that? That is rooted. That is also rooted in our lack of collective identity. In most African culture, the basic unit of existence is not the individual, it's the family and the community. You do not exist separate from the family and the community. In America, black people don't have that type of identity. We do not see ourselves primarily as a part of something larger. We see ourselves as our own separate individuality. In other words, every black man and woman in America is a nation unto themselves. They are a nation. Each individual black person is their own separate nation. They have their own separate thinking, their own separate way of life, their own separate selfish agenda. You don't find this amongst other people. Now, it's true, everyone has their individualistic agenda, no matter what color or culture you are. But yet, again, there's that collective consciousness rooted in culture that binds other people, not with us. So we do not represent something larger. We don't represent the community or the culture or the race or even the family. We simply represent ourselves. When I am a universe unto myself, you automatically become a competitor. You are automatically a competitor because I do not see you as a part of who I am. That's where the jealousy comes in. That's why we have so much competition, because there's no collective we. Everything is rooted in the individual I. Everything is I. You see. And then even when you look at our organizations, we may belong to an organization, so then we go from I to the we, but it's a small W, not a capital W. The capital W is the community. The capital W is the whole culture. The capital W is the whole race. We don't have the small W. You see, I'm a Garveyite. And myself, along with the other Garveyites, we're better than everybody else because we are Garveyites. So you have one brother, and he's with his other Nation of Islam brothers. Well, we're better than everybody else because we Nation of Islam or Hebrew or more. And I'm just using these names as examples, not to say that one of these groups are practicing this type of wrongful thinking. But the point is, we will go from the individual I to the small we. So when you have a whole bunch of small we's, you know what you get? Tribalism. We have a whole bunch of small we's. What do you get? Gangsterism. Conscious gang banging. That's what you get. Because we're working from a small we, a small W, and a small I instead of the big we. No collective identity that is greater than the schisms and the isms. And that is our downfall. Marcus Garvey said what? We are a race cursed with petty differences. Petty differences outside of white supremacy is our second biggest problem. versus white supremacy, and then it's petty differences, which is why we can never fight white supremacy, because we're always fighting over who's going to be in charge, which organization should lead, who's the most able to be a leader, this or that or that, and not to mention the amount of suspicion that we have for each other. We have what I call a paralyzing suspicion of each other. In other words, our suspicion of each other, which means no trustworthiness for one another, our suspicion of each other is so intense that it paralyzes our ability to work together. It is so intense that it paralyzes our ability to work together. And if there is no suspicion, we will manufacture some suspicion. And all of this is self-hate. All of these are just aspects of the self-hatred. The constant criticism, think about it. The only thing we are expert in as a people is criticizing and tearing each other down. Every black person has a PhD in negativistic criticism and deconstruction of someone else's program. We are masters at that. But that is the only thing we know for is self-destruction.
It's absolutely true. I mean, like I said, every time you turn around, you see someone trying to tear down somebody, okay? Especially blacks. We're always looking out towards the negative. And we're always feeding on the negative, whether it's for entertainment purposes or anything like that. We're always working to tear each other down instead of building each other up. Now, at the end of the day, white folks, somewhere down the line, they come together and they try to fix their issues for the better good of their race. Okay? But to keep us down, to keep us at war with each other. Okay? I even have my own issues within my own group. Certain people, it's always a jealous entity, a crabs in the barrel mentality. We had a show about that a while back this year. A crabs in the barrel mentality that black folks have that always cripples us and keeps us right where the white man wants us down. Not owning any properties, okay? Not running our own educational system, everything like that, okay? It's a sad situation. It's a sad situation. I want to take in the next caller here real quick here. V, what's our next caller coming up?
Yes, our next caller is area code 609. Your mic is open.
Good evening, fellas.
Hey, good evening, brother. How you doing?
All right. My name is Jules. I'm a frequent caller and frequent listener to the show. Doctor, I'm a big fan of yours. But you hit it right on the head tonight. I mean, our biggest issue as a culture is we don't know how to stop being crabs in the bucket. Ways of knocking each other down. And when there is a small group of us, that is on a positive level and trying to move forward, there's so many of us who want to knock what we do because we're not falling into what we call the matrix, as far as, like tonight, Empire is on TV, and you're not watching Empire because you're doing this talk radio show.
You're not in the in crowd, in other words. You're not following along with the pack.
But see, my thing is, I don't belong in the pack. See, I'm a firm believer. Leaders run with leaders. Followers follow behind followers.
That's right.
And we've gotten so far away from who we are and what our grandparents have fought for. And what we really come from, we are acceptable to buy into anything they try to sell us. And a big issue that we have is if we really stop and we look at that, we, like you said, that we buy into everything. The new Jordans drop tomorrow. How many white folks are standing in line? Compared to how many brothers are standing in line? And this is something we do, and I mean, they feed us constantly. Anytime something new comes out, they look at it. Let's go to the hood. Let's put it on BET. We're not going back to building our own businesses, having our own school systems,
our own supplies where we can say we don't need what you have because we can build these resources ourselves. But yet we have it at a short attention span into anything that's positive, but we'll jump to the negative. Now, this past week I did some research on Michael Jordan. Like I said, one of the greatest basketball players who ever played the game. But what has he ever done?
Ball player was my idol at one time, yes.
I mean, but let's be real. What has he ever done for his community?
Zero.
Now, I know there's some listeners that listen to this is like, yo, do you know that's not true? I mean, the fact of the facts, you can Google it. You know, he sold his name to another company who pushes out a product that we're the first ones to buy at $300, $400, $500 a pop.
Or kill each other for it. You know.
Oh, no. But let one of our own open a business, and I went through this past year myself. I opened a small business, and you know, in the beginning I had some support, but I seen how my own folks would go down the street to my competitor, whose prices were more expensive than mine, to keep their money in the neighborhood with one of their own. It's that grabbing and bucket mentality that, yo, you know, it wasn't looking at it like, oh, this young black brother's trying to do something positive, and I'm taking a percentage of the money I'm making, putting back into my community and back into sporting programs that I support, you know, in my own neighborhood. But you'll run down to the Indians, give them your money, won't complain about their prices when they're upcharging you 50, 65%. But you want to come to your own and say, I need a deal, I need a discount.
And
but you know
what I noticed too, I'm going to cut you off there, but what I noticed too is sometimes it's done is just out of, well, you know what, I don't want to see him come up like that. You know, I don't want to see, I'm letting tough, so you got to live tough too. I'll go down the street to the Indian and pay for him, you know. And I never could understand that. Why? Why would you not want to see your brother come up? You know, that's me. I don't have that in my heart. You know,
we live by that. I see people who post things in the group with Charles, and you know, he has his arch nemesis, and I'm pretty sure she's listening tonight. How she took a statement that he made and turned it around like we're against the black woman. We're not against the black woman. We're asking our sisters to rise up. But the first thing that she wanted to say it as, and it's such an asinine statement that, you know, I'm a sister and I feel that I should be taken care of. But your grandmother wasn't like that.
Not mine.
So where's this mentality that, you know, all these things that come into the U.S. that we support as a culture? Because like I said, we're the first ones to buy it. Come Christmas, let a new video game system drop. We're standing in line overnight to get it. And we do this time and time and time again. We'll stand for all the negative things there is in the world, and a handful of us will stand for positive. We can't make a movement with 10 people out of 5,000. It'll never get done. You know, something that I've noticed, I live right outside of Philadelphia, is now when the president came to town, they didn't shut schools down. The local businesses weren't shut down. Now, the Pope coming down, they're shutting down half the city. He's not even here yet. And I have friends whose businesses cannot be open, whose cars are being towed from in front of their house for a man who's not even here. But they're so worried about what could happen to this man that they'll shut down everything and put everything at a standstill and cause us to be on for a 5-minute speech. Now, you know, you said something earlier that I've been arguing with most of my life. I know a lot of Christians. I know a lot of Muslims. You know, I come from that old school Christian family. I may not agree with everything they have to say, but they'll be the first ones to tell you, oh, if you don't believe in my God, then you're wrong. Okay? All the cultures that of this world, if we all believed in the same thing, we'd be all following the same pattern. Blacks in our society, we tend to see anything that's different, it scares us, and we tend to want to beat it down or run away from it.
Or destroy it.
Exactly. But like I said, at 9 o'clock, instead of people stepping outside of the matrix and getting on the show and voicing their opinion or listening to something that most of us need to hear, they're tuning into Fox Network, who's owned by who? White folks, watching a show that's beating us down week in and week out. It's not just Empire, it's on VH1. I sat through an episode of a tattoo show the other night in pure disgust because of the way they portray us. Like we can't have a business and get along. But they don't want to show that on TV. They want to show us trying to kill each other, trying to destroy each other's businesses because that pushes ratings. And it's just so unreal that we'll fall for that needle in the haystack all the time. But let a brother get on the air and have something positive to say. Oh, they don't want to hear it. It doesn't concern them. They have no part.
It's not entertainment. It's not entertainment. That's what I get. Number one excuse. It's not entertainment enough. He's not funny enough. Okay? There's not enough drama right here. Okay? And that's been the problem, you know? It's been a serious problem. You know, it's a sad situation. And we got to do things to turn this around because our ship is sinking. You know, our situations may be a little, me and Dr. Omar, Dr. Omar, let me just tell you a little something about me. You know, I'm the type of guy that's telling brothers to, okay, maybe we can set up the Black Wall Street, but maybe not here in the U.S. Okay? You know, maybe Brazil, for example, in my case. All right? Because I see a lot of opportunities in that country. You know, some people may agree with it, some people won't, but that's what I put out there, but thanks, caller, for calling in, man. You got a list of callers coming through left and right. I really appreciate your call.
All right, we have the next caller. We got a rack of calls here. Direct your calls to Dr. Umar Johnson. We have a question. The next caller is coming in from Skype somewhere online. Your mic is open, 111.
Hello?
Your mic is open.
Mic's open.
909.
909?
All right, yeah, your mic is open.
Yeah, Doctor, I just have a question for you. You say you're a Garveyite, and I did listen to one of Marcus Garvey's speeches many, many years ago. And my question to you is that, does it frustrate you sometimes that you're actually repeating the exact same message that he repeated over 100 years ago?
It's not frustrating, only because I know that in order to push a message of African fundamentalism, of Pan-African nationalism on a people who have been trained and conditioned to hate themselves, that's a great task. And of course, Mr. Garvey, having transitioned to the realm of the ancestors so young, he wasn't able to finish it. And the Pan-Africanists who came before him, they weren't able to finish it. So it's just going to take a while to achieve that type of transformation, because it requires a total change in the current paradigm of black thought. But I know it's the only change that is worthwhile, so I have to keep on pushing. And even if it's not achieved in my lifetime, I'll pass it down to my nephews and so forth and so on. So I'm not frustrated by, great things require great effort. And so we just have to keep on going. Not only are we fighting the negative energy in our community, but we're also fighting organized resistance from the power structure. I mean, the white man knows that if black people in America ever got very serious about their predicament and very serious about Africa's predicament, there could be a true economic revolution in this world. So, You know, he don't want to hear that Pan-African piece. He don't want black people thinking about nothing outside of America. He wants you to stick to civil rights and, fighting for that type of stuff. He don't want you to get involved in global economics because that's his realm. And when you start talking about Pan-Africanism, you deal with global economics. And that is a very, very touchy topic for the white power structure because they know that is the Achilles heel of the entire global domination movement.
Okay, well, we're on to the next caller, area code 612. Your mic is open.
Hello, I'm on the line.
Yes, you are. Welcome to the show.
How you doing, brothers? My name is Emmanuel from Minneapolis, long-time listener. How you doing, Dr. Umar Johnson? It's an honor to have you on the call tonight.
Thank you, bro.
Basically, all the brothers have been speaking of, I'm in total agreement with. And one thing I would like to say is, I was born here in America. My parents are from Liberia. One thing that my father told me when he came here in 1971, a friend of his that passed away a while ago, one of his best friends, told him that my father told him that when he got to America, white folks were telling my dad, those blacks, you stay away from them now. Stay away from them.
Yeah.
And
I heard that before, yes.
Oh, yeah, and it constantly happens. And these white people were the ones that were at the embassy. They were telling them to stay away from this or that. So basically what I'm saying is, some of us, because the system that we're born in, we look at our fellow African brother or sister, and we have this aura about us where we feel as if some of us now that we're better than. And even the African is him or herself feels as if that they are better than. But basically what I'm saying is, we're all in this. We're all in it together. And if you see, I don't care where they're coming from, West, East, South Africa, I don't care. I don't care where they're coming from. We all need to, have that relationship because we're all what we have. I forgot where I'm trying to get at, but basically we are our own friend. We are our own family, especially the West Africans. We, to my knowledge, as far as I know, the blacks that are here, that's what we are. So I don't know. I love what you're doing, Dr. Umar Johnson. I'm just happy to be on the call. That's all I have to say.
All right. Thanks for your call. And
okay, we have plenty of callers. For people that want to get in on a conversation with Dr. Umar Johnson, call 347-855-8802. That's 347-855-8802. And we'll be back in 1 minute.
Chicken wings for that money, even though they was no good. But you do get something for your money. But when you put your money in the church bucket, what do you get back? Hope and a future after you die. In my position on that, if I have to die to experience heaven, I don't need that religion. Anyone who tells me that I should be content with accepting hell on earth, when the white man has his heaven here, and the Chinese man has his heaven here, and the Arab and East Indian has his heaven here, and they even building their heaven in my ghetto, and you're telling me I got to die in order to experience what they are getting right now? That's a religion I don't need, because that's a religion for servitude. And so we have to put the black church to task and ask them, what are you doing without Jesus money? Let me tell you what they're doing with your Jesus money. Every black church in America has their money in a white bank. It is the white banks that are funding the regentrification ethnic cleansing movement. So all of us go to church. We put $3 million in the church coffers every Sunday. $3 million goes to a white bank every Sunday. And guess what they do on Monday? They take $3 million of black people's white Jesus money, and they give loans to white land developers in businesses and entrepreneurs to come into the ghetto where the church is located, buy up all the property, and force grandma out on the street homeless. Now, grandma been going to that church for 30 years. Grandma been giving that church $50 every Sunday. And lo and behold, grandma had to finally face the reality that it was your Jesus money that put your ass on the street.
Okay. All right, we're back with the Charles Tyler Show. People that want to speak to Dr. Umar Johnson or Charles, and we got a bunch of callers, people. Ask one question. Don't get long-winded. Just ask one question. 714, your mic is open.
Hey, what's going on, my brothers, the host, and what's going on, brother Dr. Umar Johnson, the young lion. Okay, I'm not going to be long. What's going on? I'm calling from Indianapolis, Indiana. Just moved out here to Los Angeles and stuff like that. So, Dr. Umar, I just known about you probably 5 months ago. I mean, I first saw you on Hidden Colors, like your face. I remember your face on Hidden Colors. And, man, I am so aware of the stuff you do. Matter of fact, I belong to the black church, and you are so right. Matter of fact, I'm going to my tithe that I pay every 2 weeks. I'm going to redirect that to your school. And what I'd like for you to do, can you explain what's going to be taking place at your school and what's the cost it is for the boys? That's it.
Oh, certainly. Frederick Douglass and Marcus Garvey Academy is going to be America's first residential academy for black boys based on revolutionary economics and Pan-Africanism. And so they come into the school understanding that they will not be looking for a job, but that they will be making their own job. And we will train them and teach them and educate them in multiple pathways to wealth acquisition and economic generation. So there will be a real estate program. There will be a stock investing and trade program. They will be taught how to do taxes in high school. They will also have their own business plan. We want to have all of the building trade programs occupied at the school. Your carpentry, your bake, your cosmetology, your plumbing, your electrical work. We also want to have an aviation program as well as the Maritime Academy, very important. We do not have a single black-owned airline, African-American-owned airline in this country, nor do we have a black-owned shipping line in this country, not major ones. So that's something that will be opportunities for our young people as well. College, our school is going to differ from every other school because every other school in this country right now, even the good black schools, are basically preparing our children for college. That's the whole purpose of going to school. That, to me, is a recipe for disaster. Black children aren't getting anything with their college degrees. We have over 2 million black people with master's degrees and doctorate degrees who cannot find work. So if you're only educating my daughter so she can be accepted into a college, so she can take out a $500,000, $250,000 in student loans, and then won't even be able to find a job that will help her pay those loans back, then that tells me that the average school in America is only preparing our children for poverty. That's what that is. You're going to school so you can be poor. Because if school is preparing you for college, and college is only going to give you a degree that's not going to make you equitable in the job market, and on top of that, you're going to have to pay back $250,000 in student loans, then your education in school wants to put you right back into the ghetto. So we're going to change that. We're going to transform that. We will have political and military science. We will teach our young people the art of self-defense. We will also teach them white supremacy and how it operates. We will also have dietary and nutritional science where we teach them how to master herbology, how to heal the human body without pharmaceuticals. Okay, we will also teach them armed physical combat, and we will also teach them weapons training, how to clean a rifle, how to put the rifle together. We will have a shooting range on the campus where they can perfect their sharp shooting skills. We will also have an African spiritual and cosmological curriculum where we teach them about ancestral veneration, where we teach them about how we dealt with the Most High God before there was any Abraham, any Moses, any Jesus, or any Muhammad. Although we will respect any religion that the children come to the school with because we're not a religious institution. but we will be a spiritual institution. On top of that, we will be teaching our young people the art of community organization and leadership. This is important. It is the Frederick Douglass and Marcus Garvey International Leadership Academy. So leadership is key to what we're going to be doing at the school, because our people need leadership. Every people needs leadership, but we don't have appropriate leadership. And a lot of that comes from our religious immaturity that has most of us believing that we have to pray for a leader, or we wait for the leader to find us. That's basically how Black America has operated for almost 400 years. We will pray for the leader, or the leader will come and find us. And that has not helped us very well, because basically in Black America, anybody can be a leader if they decide to be one. As opposed to being chosen by the people, the leaders choose the people. That is totally backwards. You don't choose the people. The people are supposed to choose you. But that's the problem we have. So we're going to reverse that by making sure our young people understand leadership, which is a whole curriculum in and of itself. I mean, controlling your ego, okay, being selfless, having the discipline of a leader, being fearless. I mean, there's a whole curriculum that goes with just being a leader for African people, the type of leader that we need. So anyone who wants to donate to the school, they can donate at GoFundMe.com/Dr. Umar. Again, that's GoFundMe.com/DrUmar. If they want to mail in their donation, they can mail the donation in to FDMG Academy, P.O. Box 6872, Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, 19132. They also should be sure to put their name, their phone number, and their email address on the check or money order if they're mailing it in, because I want to be sure to keep a log of everyone who has made a donation, so that when we finally open up the school, we will be able to invite them out. I want to honor and celebrate all of those who help make the school a reality. If anyone wants to work at the school, please send me your resume to FDMG Resumes, RESUMES@gmail.com. Yes, we need math teachers, we need language teachers, we need science teachers, we need social studies, but we also need people who can farm. We need barbers, we need security guards, secretaries, nurses, counselors, bus drivers, house parents. I mean, we need so many people that we're going to have more non-instructional staff than instructional staff, because we're going to have a very revolutionary way of educating our children. So it's not just book learning. Literacy is only one part of education. We want to educate our children for liberation. And so therefore they will be reading books that a lot of children never read. They will be studying subjects that a lot of children never study. By the time they graduate from the 12th grade, they would have received an education that is equal to a white child with a master's degree.
Okay, I mean that school is definitely something that we definitely need in the Black community. It seems that you would definitely prepare young Black youths for entrepreneurship, you know, and basically self-empowerment that we don't get from the schools today. As we speak right now, I just put your GoFundMe link in our Facebook group, Afro-American Men versus Afro-Brazilian Women Would You Date. Also, the other 6 groups will be carrying this link. I'm going to mark this down as a okay, and a lot of our listeners are definitely going to support, you know, the Marcus Garvey, the Frederick Douglass Marcus Garvey Academy, you know, because this is something that we definitely need. We need a university, if I will, for a true one, that can teach blacks, young Black youths, okay, self-empowerment, self-worth, okay, and how important entrepreneurship should be. So I believe that we always want to go when we go to the university, go to schools and everything like that, and we just normally get education just to be workers. You know, put money right back into the white man's pocket. You know, and it's a sad situation. It's a constant cycle, and that explains why we are where we are right now. You know, so we're definitely going to get that word out, Dr. Omar. No doubt on this one right here. We got to go on to our next caller here.
Yes, Charles, we have a caller from the state of Florida, 407 area code. Your mic is open.
Hey, Charles. How you doing? This is
Hey, how you doing there, brother?
Dr.
Right.
Dr. Umar Johnson. How you doing? It's a pleasure to have you. It's a pleasure to listen to what you're saying. I have a two-pronged question, but I'm going to try and keep it down to one. Okay. Based on the colonial movements that took place, in the early years of raping and pillaging the different states, across Africa and everything, and now they're having these problems with these refugees, flooding these European nations, and the rest of the world is making restitutions or preparations, for them to come into the country. Okay, what would you say, to those countries, that are having these crises, especially the African countries, where there's no jobs, no nothing, and what is being done? Okay, this is the second part. What is being done to connect, on a global movement, to do the same thing that you're doing for your school, but on a global scale? Okay, so I want to hear more about the solutions. I understand the problems, and we can talk about empire and all that, all that stuff, but I want to hear more about the solutions of what is being done, and how can I be pointed in that right direction, so I can contribute in more ways than one, maybe a little bit of financial, maybe a little bit of educational, and things of that nature. That's the end of my question.
Well, the problem with Africa is the same problem we have in America. In America, you got black people in 50 different states, and there's no organization within the state or across the state. That's the same problem that you have in Africa. You have 55 plus nations with very little organization within it and very little between the nations. We have the African Union, but the African Union is really an African Union only on paper, because most of the countries who belong to the African Union are dependent on handouts from the European countries in order to survive. The basic challenge for African people everywhere, because we're the same everywhere. In a couple of weeks, I'll head over to Manchester, England, to keynote the 70th anniversary of the 1945 Fifth Pan-African Conference. And in England, they have the same issues. I'll be in France October 31st for their Pan-African Conference in Paris. Same issues. I'll be in South Africa on a speaking tour from October the 21st to November the 9th. Same issues. It doesn't matter where we go. The challenges are almost identical. And they stem from hopelessness. Black people are punch drunk from white supremacy. We're punch drunk. You ever watch a fight and the one fighter beat up the other? Take a Mayweather fight, okay? Mayweather pounded the guy so much that by the time they get to the 10th round, the guy just going through the motions. He hasn't lost yet, but he ain't trying to win. He hasn't lost, but he ain't trying to win. That's black people. We're just waking up every day, going through the motions. We haven't totally lost yet, but we're not trying to win. We have no vision. We lack the belief that we can change our reality. And that is the greatest victory that an oppressor can ever have over an opponent. That's the greatest victory. To convince you can't beat me. That is the greatest victory a bully has over the other kid he's bullying. Once I get in your head, see, I can kill you, I can enslave you, I can colonize you, I can exploit your community, but as long as you got breath in your lungs, you can come back, because no man is greater than any other man. So every man has the power, and woman has the power within them to overcome any oppression, because God made us equal. There are no graders. So if you're being oppressed, it's only because you are, number one, allowing it, and because you haven't figured out the strategy to overcome it. But you can, because we are equal. But once your opponent gets in your head, gets into your head and make you think that beating me is impossible, once he's affected that in your thinking, then you have lost. White supremacy's greatest victory is not in the wealth.
is not in the military might. It's not in the organization. It's in the psychology. It's the fact that he's convinced black folk that he cannot lose. Once you convince another man that you cannot lose, it's over. And that's where we are. Now, the solution is simple. You ain't got to have a lot of talk on that. The solution is very simple. And the solution is independent. Black people have to buy their own land. They have to build their own institutions, their own industry, and we have to create our own community infrastructure. Land, institutions, industries, and infrastructure. Period. We know that. Every community that comes to America does the same thing. They get some land, a neighborhood. They build their institutions to serve the people. They build their industries to finance the institutions. And then infrastructure to make sure they have all the programs and systems and processes that they need. We know the system. We know the solution. It's all around you. The problem is getting people interested enough to bring the solution into fruition. That's our problem. We're not stuck on the solution. We're stuck on the unity and the commitment. The unity, what are the two biggest problems for black folks? Unity, petty differences, commitment, coming up with excuses for why we can't do it. We lack commitment, and we lack commitment at every level. We lack commitment from the scholars. We lack commitment from the traditional black leadership cartel. We lack commitment from the college-educated young black folks who are probably the least committed I've seen in a long time. I mean, my goodness. They're not interested in nothing but they self. You see,
exactly.
So you
trying to get away.
And you need commitment. The solution is easy. The unity to bring about the solution is the hard part.
Okay. I'm just taking it all in, Dr. Omar. I'm just, like I said, I'm just, you just giving, it's the education for our listeners. It's also education for me too as well. When I'm listening to you right here, it's just, you're breaking it all down. Most definitely. We got to take on more callers here. We got another caller coming in.
We do, and remember, people, now keep one question because we want to get as many people in as possible. Area code 443. Your mic is open.
Can you guys hear me?
Yes, we can. How you doing there, brother?
How you doing, brother? Hey, Charles. It's your brother Saul. What's up, Doctor?
All right.
I had a question about this. That you said you were setting up the school. Are you going to have it so that the students can also, because nowadays we have technology. Technology helps assist us quite a bit. Are they going to be able to I guess, get their classes and handle their curriculum that you guys are going to present out there from not being in that location, but they could be in a different state. They could be in a different location other than the residential area that you have it. Will they be able to do online training and classes and so on and so forth like that?
Good question. Once the physical school has been opened, I will then add a virtual school component to the physical school. So that means that if your child, let's say the school is in Virginia, if we're blessed enough to get to St. Paul's College, and I'm sure we will because everyone listening on the show tonight is going to make a donation. But any college, let's say your child is in Detroit, Chicago, Los Angeles. They can't be in Virginia because we can only handle 500 to 1,000 children. They should be in Virginia because it's an international school. So if your child gets selected out of the lottery to go, then they will be there from California. But, let's say that is already filled, they didn't get selected. They can then join the virtual school, which basically means that they would get on a computer and they would tap into the school. So they would be able to be in the class virtually by way of webcam and HDTV so that their classmates can see them on the screen and they can see their classmates. That's the next best thing you can get to actually being there. Now, students who are a part of the virtual school will still be responsible for coming into the physical school. So 4 times a year, they will have to come in and they will have to receive certain modules to make sure that they are up to snuff on the education. So we're not just going to rely on the virtual component. They're going to have to come in. So virtual school is different from cyber school because
Because with cyber school, the program teaches you. You don't talk to a teacher. You don't see classmates. You deal with the computer program like a video game. I'm not interested in that because half of all learning is interaction and socialization. And the reason why I refuse to start a virtual school or a cyber school or a homeschool component before my physical school is instituted is because the curriculum means nothing unless it is implemented the way I designed it. So I've had people say you should put the curriculum out there for parents. Hell no. I will never do that until I have the physical school because the physical school is the blueprint. The physical school shows exactly how this is supposed to be done. Now, I don't see anything wrong with somebody coming up with a homeschool curriculum. There's a lot of brothers and sisters working on that now. I don't see anything wrong with it, but I also recognize that there's a lot of money involved in writing a Afrocentric curriculum. So, I don't know if these people are thinking about the best interests of our kids or just thinking about the best interests of their pocket. But if you really care about quality education, just putting a curriculum out there is not good enough. See, there's three things that we got to be clear about. And see, I'm a school principal and an educator, so I know a lot about this topic because I ran a school. A lot of people who have homeschools and stuff, they never ran a school. They're not principals. I'm a principal. So when you're dealing with instruction, you're talking about three things. The curriculum is what I intend to teach. What I intend to teach, that's the curriculum. But the instruction is what I actually taught. So you have the curriculum, what was intended to be taught. You have the instruction, what is actually taught. And then you have the third thing, and that is what was actually learned. Y'all see these three stages? What I intended to teach, what was taught, and what the child actually learned. And what we find is that from the curriculum to the instruction, a lot is lost. What the teacher was supposed to teach was not delivered in those 180 school days. And then we got to go and find out why not. And then from that, we got to do an assessment on the child to see what they actually learned from what the teacher taught. So guess what? If you look at what was supposed to have been taught from the curriculum and what was actually learned from the child, you might get a 25% success rate. Our kids are only learning 25% of what was written in the curriculum. And that's because people are not taking their time to look at the instructional methodology. They're not taking their time to review the pedagogical program and protocol. Just writing the curriculum don't mean shit. And everybody thinks it does. It don't. Look, let's say you have the perfect curriculum. Okay. But you have the worst teachers. The perfect curriculum with the worst teachers, the children are not going to learn. And even if you have a parent homeschooling, if that homeschooling parent don't know how to teach, the curriculum won't mean nothing. If I had to choose between a good curriculum and horrible teachers, or a mediocre curriculum and excellent teachers, I'm going to choose the excellent teachers in a mediocre curriculum. You know why? Because the teachers will bring that curriculum to life. Your staff is 50 times more important than your curriculum. Your staff is education is a human relations profession. I don't care what you put in the curriculum. Do you have the teachers who can bring it to life, number one? And do you have the teachers who can improvise with the curriculum? Because between the curriculum and the instruction is the lesson plan. Are your teachers, do they have the skill to translate that curriculum into digestible chunks of protein? You have to translate the curriculum into digestible components so the child can swallow it and eat it. You see, so the curriculum is your raw vegetable straight from the ground, straight from the farm. That's the curriculum. But then that meal that you prepare for those children, that's the lesson plan. Can those teachers cut up that curriculum and put it into digestible units of protein for that child's mind? Teachers are just as important as the curriculum, if not more so. I'm worried about my teachers. The curriculum is already there. My curriculum is that's done. Nobody will be able to touch my curriculum, but without the teachers, it don't mean nothing. You got to have the right teachers, and we need to be looking for the right teachers. Everybody crazy over curriculum. Okay, good. Be crazy over the curriculum. But I'm not impressed by a great curriculum. You want to impress me, show me a great group of teachers who can impart that curriculum
out there. Like I said, with a weak curriculum, that could definitely be turned around if you got the right teacher, the right education. He'll bring the right education. The right education teacher will bring that out. Will make that curriculum a whole lot more than what it is. Okay.
Exactly. But if you got horrible teachers, no matter how great that curriculum is, ain't nothing changing. Because the person whose job is to deliver the curriculum can't do it.
Exactly. Like I said, it's all about teaching and showing what to do. If you show it right and you teach it right, it's going to sink in. It's definitely going to sink in. We're going to go on to our next call there. Where you coming from?
Yes, area code 706, your mic is open.
706? 706, you got to unmute your...
Let's move to the next one. We'll come back to that. Area code 214, your mic is open.
214.
Hey, I have a question. This is Big Al, you know what I'm saying? And can that be off topic if it's appropriate? It's pertaining to... Okay. I finally realized today or this week, you're definitely right. The crabs in the barrel mentality. I'll tell you this. I'll give you an example. My girlfriend, so-called girlfriend, is trying to kick me out within 7 days. Even though she had an attitude, she don't really mean it, but she actually do mean it because it's been frequently, it's been too much. And their parents was trying to call me, hey, let's go get something to eat, whatever, you know what I'm saying? Come to our house, and then they're trying to talk me down into, hey, you need to go, deal with your girlfriend, you know what I'm saying, which is Afro-American. You can't handle, you got to deal with her, I've been there, you know what I'm saying, with her mom is the same way, she's really bullheaded, really da-da-da. And then, while I was thinking to myself, I was like, they're telling me, oh, you ain't no man, this, that, and the third, you know what I'm saying, if you can't handle my daughter or my granddaughter. Because my grandfather was like, hey, you're not handling your business as a man. I said, I do handle business as a man, but she just, tripping out, you know what I'm saying?
Well, the simple dealing with that right there is sometimes you have to look at a situation and wonder if you really even supposed to be in that situation. Okay, you got to go through all that to, basically get your woman in the right direction. You got to ask yourself, is this really worth it? Is this real? So I tell you what.
I got something to say on that, and I want to say this. We have too many sisters who need to reduce their level of masculinity.
Exactly.
And we have too many brothers who need to reduce their level of femininity.
Oh, yeah.
Now, a relationship will work when both parties are able to influence that dyad with their particular type of power. So if you're dating a queen who is not respecting your leverage in the relationship, see, the relationship is a balance. 50% feminine, 50% masculine. And it is bi-directional. You influence the relationship, she influenced the relationship. But sometimes we get into a relationship where the man wants to dominate and the woman is not allowed to make her 50% contribution with the decisions and so forth. And then we get situations where the woman wants to dominate and the man is not allowed to give his 50% contribution to the unit. Whenever you're in a relationship that's lopsided, where you're not allowed to influence the direction of that relationship, that's a relationship you don't need. Because any relationship that's out of balance is unhealthy. It is totally unhealthy
for a woman to just sit there and the man does everything and her intelligence does not influence what that family is about. That is unhealthy. And it's unhealthy for a woman to be totally running a man's life at all. So whenever you get in a situation that's lopsided where the person wants more than their 50% share of the relationship, you need to get up out of it. And the other thing we need to understand is that black folks, because of our self-hatred, we have a tendency to become oppressive and dictatorial in our romantic dealings with one another because we do not respect the other person simply because they black in the first place, male or female. See, the relationship issue grows out of the community issue. We don't relate well with each other at all. Brothers and sisters don't relate well. Organization to organization don't relate well. Elder to elder don't relate well. So we have a relationship problem with each other, period. But when you step into the realm of romance, the problems get intensified because now you're dealing with personal emotions. And the other thing about personal emotions is when people have been through trauma in their life. When you have been through trauma, verbal abuse, sex abuse, physical abuse from a parent or a romantic partner, you are hyper vigilant for further abuse. And in being hyper vigilant, you become overprotective to the point that you deprive the other person of the love that they need from you and the love that they want to give to you, which is to say that a hurt person, a traumatized person, and a scarred person is the worst partner you can have because they're so worried about their own feelings that they're too damn selfish and caught up in themselves to be any good to you.
I think that was a complete breakdown right there. I couldn't say it better myself. Thank you, Doctor. Thank you, Doctor. We have to move on to our next caller. Thanks a lot, caller, from calling in.
Yes, we're going back to 706 area code. Your mic is open.
706. Press one on your tab there. 706. Your mic's open.
Okay,
we got to move on to.
Okay.
Yeah, we got.
All right, we've got some phone lines open. The number to call is 347-855-8802. That's 347-855-8802. We've got probably less than 30 minutes left. We just got a call. They called in from the 919. 919. Your mic is open.
919.
Hello, guys. This is Alan again. It's actually a question I forgot to ask real quick.
Okay. Go ahead, Alan.
Is Dr. Johnson, do you believe, like with all the stuff that you're saying that's also talked about on the show, do you believe that, like, when it comes to, like, our inability to relate and stuff, like, do you believe that stuff has the ability to be repaired? And also, do you believe that we can pretty much reduce white supremacy to a certain point that we can thrive in this country? That's all.
Okay, let me answer the second question first. We've had examples of flourishing black communities in this country. We've had our Rosewoods, we've had our Tulsas, we've had our Charleston, we've had our Durham, North Carolinas, we've had very successful black Wall Streets periodically throughout our sojourn here in the States. And we also know that most of them were burned to the ground by white folk with the support of the United States government. Because black power is a contradiction to white power. So in answering your second question, can we achieve a degree of success? Can we control racism's effect on us to the point that we will be able to build? I would say yes in the short term, no in the long term. And what I mean by that is the minute you perfect your Black Wall Street, the minute I perfect my school, you must then
begin to look for a relocation spot outside of this country in a country with a black government so that it can survive forever. Because the minute my school becomes a threat to the internal order of the United States by producing so many young, uncompromising, fearless, well-educated brothers and sisters, they're going to try to destroy it, just like they've done with anything else great we built, from the Garvey movement on down to the Black Wall Street. So in the short term, we can do it, but in the long term, we won't be able to do it. It is a contradiction in sovereignty to allow a powerful nation to exist inside of a larger nation. So we will have to relocate at some point. It's inevitable. The first question, can it be repaired? Can the psychological problems of black folk can be repaired? Yes, but I do not have much hope that we can repair it in the adult population because people do not change easily. It's a psychological fact. People will come to therapy. Most of them will not be successful. Most people who go to therapy will leave with the same problems they came in with because it is hard to break bad habits because most people do not have the resilience, the commitment, or the willpower to overcome negative thinking and behavior patterns. Not just post-traumatic slavery disorder, but also depression, anxiety, cocaine addiction, marijuana addiction, alcoholism. I mean, so many mental illnesses, people never get over them. So I don't have a lot of hope for adult black folks, which is why I'm focusing on the children. We can change this whole reality in 20 years. If we were serious, we can end it. We going into 2016. By 2036, this whole problem can be ended if we would just take all of our resources and focus on the next generation. Every child from birth to age 20 is going to be institutionalized, and they're going to undergo a serious and intensive psychological reconstruction process where they be properly educated, properly socialized. They will be the African children we need them to be, and there you go. Your problem is solved. It's that easy. The problem is we focus on the adults to the exclusion of the youth, and while we're trying to heal the adults, the youth keep on becoming like the adults. So we never stop the problem. We don't pull out the root. We keep dealing with the symptoms. We keep dealing with the outgrowth. Forget the branches. Let's get the root. Save the baby. If you kill the nigger and the child, the nigger will be dead once and for all.
Well, I mean, so now my thing is like this, right? When we deal with racism, like you mentioned earlier with Rosewood, Tulsa, Oklahoma, you know, the destruction of white supremacy is a good. The thing is what I'm worried about is when we try to build another society for blacks and black only, especially here in this racist country. Okay, there's a strong chance it can get wiped out again. My thing is this: why don't we just don't do it in America? Okay. Why can we find another society, whether it's in South America or whether it's in Africa, and start all over right there? Get rid of the negativity that's around us. Right. Nothing's wrong with that. There's a saying that I took from Rosewood. Y'all probably, a lot of my listeners probably have heard me say this. You know, there's a scene, you know, when Esther Rose, you know, dying after she got shot, and she tells, you know, her son, you know, John, she tells him, look, you know, don't let them surround you, baby. And I, you know, when I went back further to find out more about Rosewood, all right, that was a saying to blacks back then: don't be surrounded by all white folks, all your enemies, because there'll be no place to run. When they attack, they're all around you. There's no place to run. Okay, you know, just the same what they did to Rosewood, and also what they did to Tulsa, Oklahoma, for the original Black Wall Street.
Right. Here, let me say this. I agree. There's absolutely nothing wrong with going to Africa and building. In fact, one of the things I'm working on, and if anyone listening to the call tonight would like to participate, please send me an email or text message. And that is the Team Pan-African Research and Repatriation Task Force. Team Pan-African Research and Repatriation Task Force. Basically, I'm going to be forming a team of brothers and sisters. Each of them will be in a different group, and they will be assigned to investigate the repatriation potential for every country in Africa. So, for example, you might be with Sudan. Somebody else might be with the Ethiopia Task Force. Somebody else might be South Africa, the Congo, Senegal, Ghana, Nigeria, Botswana, Guinea-Bissau. And you will investigate every aspect of that country for repatriation potential. What is the political climate like? Is this a good place for black folks to repatriate? Is the government stable? Do they have a lot of civil wars? Do they have a lot of coups? What type of industry do they have? What are the needs of the people there? And then how can we translate those needs into businesses? Okay, how can we give back to the people while we are there? Can we build a relationship with the current government? Is the president like Uncle Tom of the United States government, or does he have a little bit of courage and is interested in hearing some fresh ideas? So that's one of the things we're working on, because when we do repatriate, we don't all go to the same place. I mean, no matter how much you like Ghana, Ghana cannot afford to take 40 million blacks. No one African country can absorb that many people at one time, even if we're coming in with our own businesses. You have to spread it around. So you may have 1 million might go to South Africa, 500,000 might go to Botswana, only 20,000 might go to Ethiopia. We have to be very scientific with this. But in 2016, we're going to be looking at that, because I'll be getting dozens of emails from African Americans who are saying, I want to quit America. I'm getting more emails from people who want to quit America than I've ever gotten in my life. I mean, all kind of brothers and sisters. Listen, I'm ready to get the hell up out. If we can do better, Umar,
I get the same as well. I get the same as well. You know, we got a lot of brothers who want to go. Now, I don't know how your insight as far as Brazil. I get a lot of brothers who
South and Central America. I think those are also places that should be considered. The closer you get to America, though, the greater the control over the government by this government through influence. But I don't see anything wrong with it, especially with Brazil, with its high African population there. But we must include Africa, though, in the repatriation program, of course, because it's the richest continent on the face of the earth. I mean, Africa has more mineral wealth than all the countries in the Caribbean and South and Central America put together. So that, the mother continent must always be a major focus, but I see nothing wrong with spreading the love around the globe. In fact, I'm looking at some of the Caribbean countries as a potential site for the school as well, particularly the Virgin Islands. So I see nothing wrong with that. We can look at all of them. But if anyone's interested in that, just send me an email, drumarjohnson@yahoo.com, or through the website, drumarjohnson.com, or you can even text me, 215-989-9858. Again, my cell, 215-989-9858. But we're going to be moving on that. Now, to answer your question, what's wrong with just getting up and doing it now? 3 things that have to be considered. Nothing's wrong with getting up and doing it now. Nothing. People repatriate to Africa every day. But 3 things that have to be considered. Number 1, we got to be careful about leaving the children behind. We got to recognize that our best minds are the children who have not yet been tampered with. If we get up and go, we still have to leave some of us here so that we can raise and educate and socialize and prepare our children, because they're the future. So we don't want to get up and leave all of our young children with these psychologically unhealthy black parents to raise them. So you don't want to abandon the children without a plan of action. That's number 1. Number 2, the unity. The unity. The worst thing we can do is go to Africa and see our brothers and sisters in Africa observe us fighting like cats and dogs over there. They will lose total faith in us. They will lose total faith in us. If we get over there and start the same petty tribalism that the conscious community has here, they will never they will laugh at us, because all you're doing is what they're doing. They have tribal differences, and we come over there with our Negro differences. They'll lose faith in us. So you got to deal with the unity piece. And then number 3, practice imperfection. I believe that before we take any system over to Africa, if we can help it, we should try to perfect it here. Perfect it here. So when you go to Africa, there's no room for error. There's no waste of resources, no waste of money. We know how to do it because we did it in America. America is the practice ground. It is not the permanent ground. It is the practice ground. So if we're trying to build an independent community, build it here. So when you take it back home, you know how much you need. You know exactly who's going to do what. I see America as the practice ground for the independent communities that we build in Africa and in other black nations around the world. So not leaving the children behind, making sure the petty differences were left behind, and then practice and perfection before we go home.
Okay. Yeah, it's definitely got to be done. Because like I said, that's always been my worry. What's going on here in this country? All right. It's always been detrimental to the black man. You know, it's always trying to destroy what the black man tries to build. So, like I said, my idea, pull out. Okay. You know, going back to the motherland, or of course go back to Africa too, what I call South America. Because with my experience being down there in South America, it's like you're back in your culture, but you're not over there in Africa just yet. And I'd like to pull on to the next caller.
Let's go back to 616. 616. Your mic is open.
Hello. Yes, how you doing?
Hey, what's up?
All right.
Hey, how you doing? What's going on, Charles? What's going on, Dr. Umar?
Okay. What's going on, Kev?
What's going on, fellas? Dr. Umar, I got a quick question for you, brother. I know you're the modern day Marcus Garvey. I watched his autobiography, or documentary of him, and I saw they highlighted some of the mistakes he had made in the past. I just wanted to hear from you, since I know how close you are and with the Pan-African movement. I know he had a lot of mistakes as far as people he may have trusted along the ways of the whole with the boats and the shipping stuff and all that different things. But what are some of the things that he did wrong that you've learned from? I'm big on learning from people's mistakes and learning from my own mistakes in order to be better. So I just want to hear that from you. What some of the things you learned from Mr. Garvey's mistakes? Because I know he did a lot of great things, and we can also learn from things he did out great. But I want to know, what did you learn from his mistakes that made you better, or made you plan your plan come to fruition a little bit better?
Okay, firstly, you don't want to get your history on Garvey from a Jewish-made documentary. There was a lot of errors in that documentary. In fact, when it was released, and I'll never forget it because I was still a member of the UNIA Division 121 in North Philadelphia. When that documentary was released, the sons of Marcus Garvey, both of them, former President General Honorable Marcus Mathai Garvey Jr., as well as his younger brother, Dr. Julius Garvey, who's a surgeon in New York, along with Dr. Malefi Asante and others, they wrote letters to PBS condemning that documentary for the falsification of Mr. Garvey's legacy and the history of the Universal Negro Improvement Association of African Communities League. They interviewed Marcus Garvey Jr. for over 3 hours. He was in the documentary for less than 5 minutes. They interviewed Mrs. James, who was the widow to President General Charles R. James, who was one of Marcus Garvey's students in the course of African philosophy. They interviewed her for hours. She was only in there for a few seconds. A lot of the scholars they did include were not members of the UNIA and only got their history from books that was written by white folks who were not favorable to the Garvey movement. So some of the lies that were in there. First of all, Mr. Garvey, really, the mistakes that he made were mistakes that I could make because you can't control who infiltrates your organization. The ships that Marcus Garvey bought, he was influenced to buy them by a Captain Cockburn who was a career seaman. Mr. Garvey hired him. He thought he could trust him. And then we find out later that Captain Cockburn was an agent for the FBI. So I can't say that's a mistake of Marcus Garvey no more than I can say it's a mistake if you infiltrate my organization and you a damn agent. There's no ways for me to know that. So a lot of what they said were mistakes were things that he could not control because his organization was so thoroughly infiltrated by jealous Negroes as well as the government. But every decision that Marcus Garvey made was made in collaboration with the executive body of the UNIA.
nothing was done on the whim. Everything was voted on. Everything was presided over by the other president generals in the movie. So there was just a lot of distortions in that. Nothing was done recklessly. And contrary to what a lot of people know about the Black Star Line Steamship Corporation did experience success. It did transport people and products around the Caribbean, around South America. So it wasn't just that the ships just got up and failed. No, they functioned, and a lot of good was done on those ships. But ultimately, it came to ruin because of the infiltration, largely from Captain Cockburn and other undercover agents who told Marcus Garvey to purchase certain ships that they knew were not seaworthy and wouldn't last long. So, the mistakes, the only thing Marcus Garvey admitted himself that I would say was a mistake was the fact that when his enemies came against him, W.E.B. Du Bois, A. Philip Randolph, one of our first prominent homosexual black leaders, and the black communists, when they came against Marcus Garvey, one of the things he said that if he could do it over, he probably would not have challenged them back. In other words, in challenging them back, it just intensified their jealousy, and it just intensified their desire to support the United States government to ultimately destroy Marcus Garvey. So one of the things he said is that, he should have went back and forth with them. If they were going to hate, he should have just let them hate. That's the one thing that I have to learn. I'm a Leo just like Marcus Garvey, 4 days apart. And, I have my jealous detractors in the conscious community as well, people who want my position but haven't earned it. And I have to learn that lesson, to not go back and forth with them. Sometimes it's difficult.
I'm learning it myself right now.
It's hard to sit by and let another man try and disrespect you. But at the same time, you have to keep the greater mission in mind. I think of Malcolm and what he went through with Mr. Muhammad. And I think in retrospect, Malcolm probably feels now that he probably should have just let it go and stay focused on the movement. That he shouldn't have spoke on the outer wedlock children a man had with teenagers. He should have just kept that to himself and kept on moving, because that intensified the jealousy that certain forces had in the Nation of Islam for Malcolm and ultimately brought about his downfall. So when I look at Malcolm and Garvey, probably our last two great Pan-Africanists in this country, the message is the same. Don't be the haters.
What you just said right there really, really sunk in with me. As I continue to grow with myself in the movement that I'm, just so happen to be put in charge of, right? And with this, I've experienced the jealousy and the attacks as well, and now you just hearing it from you and how to deal with it, it's definitely giving me, definitely giving me the right mindset to deal with this as we continue to go on, with the Black Option movement and everything that, like I said, as I continue to listen to you, Doctor, I'm learning something as well. I'm learning things about myself too as well, and,
when we deal with humility, because ultimately that's what it comes to, to not retaliate even when you were wrong, it's the humility. And we got to understand something. Humility can save your life. Politically, it can save your life, because what it does is you say, I'm going to go ahead and be humble, because even though I have a right to respond, if I respond, I have to consider the consequences of that response, that they're going to keep going. Other people are going to feed into it. It's going to get bigger than what it is. And then that opens up an opportunity for the government to come in, do something to you, and blame it on jealous Negroes in the community. So you don't want to give the government an alibi. See, that's the thing. You don't want to give the government an alibi by constantly putting negative tension in the community, to the point where the government says, if we do it, they will say that they did it. So my thing is, don't give the government an alibi. If they're going to do something to you, they're going to have to own up to it. People are going to know it was them. I'm not going to let you use jealous people as your cover for trying to take me up out of here.
Okay. Like I said, as you speak, I'm continuing to learn. That's why I'm being silent. The less silent I've ever been on any of my shows. So I knew I was going to learn something here tonight. And I want to bring us to our next caller online there.
We got about 9 minutes left, Charles and Dr. Johnson. So we got open lines because a lot of people are taking notes and learning, including myself. So we've got some open lines. If you're already in the studio, which a number of you are, just press 1 on your phone. You better do it quickly because we got about 8 or 9 minutes left on this podcast. I'll give the number out one more time, 347-855-8802. And just like that, we got 2 people that want to get in. Wait a minute. Let me see. All right, here we go. Area code 267, your mic is open.
So, you hear me?
I can hear you there. Gotcha.
This is Al Brown from the group. How you doing?
How you doing there?
So far, so good. So far, you guys have been almost reading my mind all night. Everything that you're both saying is something I've been posting on the group. I mean, one of the worst things that we can do as African Americans is allow people who are censored to have us believe we're not as good as they are, and not to try to build a future for ourselves. But Dr. Omar said something I agree with 100%. I think I have written something about it on your group. That it's not for us just to try to have a slavery and adapt to the way they are and their way of doing things. We have to build a strong structure for ourselves here to take over there and to have something from us to respect.
That's right.
I'm going to go ahead and end on that because I got other calls that I know you have other calls waiting. I'm going to go ahead and end on that one. Just give a shout out to Dr. Omar. I enjoy listening to you from time to time.
All right. Thanks for calling there.
917 area code, your mic is open.
917?
Yes.
Yeah.
Am I on? You hear me? Okay.
Sure.
Greetings. I just wanted to know, Dr. Umar, I'm about 10 years younger than you. I just want to know a list of books that you think would help empower someone, someone around 10 years younger than you that is just getting hip to what's going on in the world, is trying to look for more answers and more ways to empower themselves.
Gotcha. You can text me for the book list or email me for it. Good brother, I got one I can send you. You can email me at Dr. Umar Johnson, DrUmar Johnson at yahoo.com, or you can text me for it, 215-989-9858. Also want to let you know I'll be in Harlem on Sunday, October the 4th. I will be in Brooklyn on Wednesday, October the 7th. I'm currently in Cincinnati, where I'll be speaking here on this Friday the 25th, and then I'll be in Roselle, New Jersey, which is North Jersey, this Saturday the 26th, and then I'll be in Allentown, Pennsylvania, and Kutztown, Pennsylvania, for my Philly people if they feel like taking a ride up there. Allentown from 1 to 4, and then Kutztown University from 5 to 8 this coming Sunday, the 27th. I'll be in St. Louis next Saturday, October the 3rd, Raleigh, North Carolina, November the 14th. I'll be in Houston the first day of Kwanzaa, Atlanta the third day of Kwanzaa, Tulsa, Oklahoma the fourth day of Kwanzaa, and in Detroit the fifth day of Kwanzaa in Detroit. So if anybody needs to find out where I'm gonna be, you can follow me on social network, Twitter and Instagram at Dr. Umar Johnson, and on Facebook, Dr. Umar Ifatunde. Also, you can text me for the flyers for any of the upcoming events, and you can get your tickets at princeofpanafricanism.eventbrite.com. Okay, Dr. Umar Johnson, I've actually posted your website, and I also posted the GoFundMe, as I mentioned earlier, for the school on all of our Facebook groups. Okay, total of 6. Okay, so it's definitely going to be a definite feedback. It's for all our callers. This is the way we can get in contact with Dr. Omar Johnson, and of course, get the information that we need, and basically brainstorm for. Okay. Now, Doc, I got a question here for you myself. Okay. This is something that I noticed as well. Have you noticed that the gay agenda, in my opinion, has tied themselves into the civil rights movement? Basically, even though we know that the way they came up and the way the functions and their rise to power. Okay, because now they're trying to teach alternative lifestyles in our schools and everything like that. What do you have to say about that? Their constant infiltration into the black community.
Well, two things. Number one, black people we are very kind and compassionate people to everybody else. And so if you have any type of a cause in America, you want black people to get behind it because we're very selfless people. That's our nature. We'll give our life to something if we believe in it, you see. And so that's why even white folks, when they go to court, they rather have black jurors than white jurors because of our compassion for human beings. So they always, and plus we're 40 million strong. So anytime you have a social issue, you want to try to infiltrate the black community for support, numbers, leverage, financial contributions. So people will always come looking to us to help them, but we got to keep in mind they're only doing it to use us. So that's number one. Number two, we got to recognize that the United States government loves to bring issues to the black community that focus on something other than race. So if they can get black folk to put all their energy behind the multicultural campaign or the LBGT campaign or the Latino campaign or the feminist campaign, that only helps them because it distracts us from our primary problem, which is white supremacy. So any other social issue that does not focus on white supremacy, they want us involved in. They want us in the feminist movement because that's not focusing on white supremacy. They want you in the multicultural movement. That's not focusing on white supremacy. They want you in the LBGT movement. That's not focusing on white supremacy. They want you on the poverty movement. That's not focusing on white supremacy, you see. So they love to distract us. So we always getting bombarded with this movement and this cause and that cause. And we need to stay focused. Our problems stem from racism, white supremacy, and we should not let anybody get us off our square. But lately we have been. We've been getting distracted by the lesbian movement. We've been getting distracted by the homosexuals. We've been getting distracted by the multicultural thing. A lot of black women have been totally co-opted with this feminist thing. So we've been taking our attention off of racism and putting it on all these other issues that have nothing to do with eliminating the core cause of our problems, racism, white supremacy.
Well, I also think it's also an attack on the black man's manhood too as well. Okay.
Well, all of it. I think that's one of the big issues with Black Lives Matter. That's why people need to be very careful about this new movement, Black Lives Matter. Not the hashtag, but the movement by the same name that we're hearing about all over the news. Black Lives Matter. This is an organization founded by lesbians and feminists. Nobody's talking about it. There's no black men in the leadership at the national level. Nobody's talking about it. When you read their program, they tell you that they are about the proliferation and the acceptance of LBGT culture and lifestyle. Nobody's talking about it. So when you talk about infiltrating the black struggle with LBGT energy, that's what Black Lives Matter is doing. They are redirecting the focus of black issues, from racism and putting it on a push for LBGT acceptance. The goal, as far as I'm concerned, of Black Lives Matter is to take the leadership of black revolutionary struggle away from heterosexual blacks and give it to homosexual and lesbian blacks. That's their agenda. And if we're not careful, that's exactly what's going to happen. They want to blend LBGT with RBG.
People got to wake up and they got to realize it. It's just, getting tough out there. Well, Dr. Umar Johnson, we've reached the end of our show here. And like I said, I had to sit. Usually I'm pretty mouthy with my, with my show, but I knew I had to sit back tonight and I had to listen. Because I knew you were definitely going to kick knowledge right here. And I definitely learned a lot tonight. I really appreciate you coming on. I know it was very short notice and everything like that, but I definitely appreciate you coming out tonight. And my listeners as well appreciate you coming on. When they heard it, it was like, oh, for real. Sorry for the miswording of our post earlier, but like I said, I wanted to put that out there. And I also want to put out there definitely a friend, put us in contact with you. And, like I said, I really appreciate you coming on tonight. And, much love, brother. And I would like to have you back on again.
Oh, anytime.
Anytime. Like I said, we definitely we got you all linked up as far as everything that is covering Dr. Umar Johnson, including, the Frederick Douglass Marcus Garvey Academy. Definitely, we're going to be definitely funding that. I'm going to set myself up for a monthly fund, okay, just to keep money flowing into that. Because we got to help build and put back into our own community. And I want to start definitely with the Frederick Douglass Marcus Garvey Academy. And I would like the rest of these listeners out here to do the same. All right, we got the links in the Facebook groups. Let's start loading it up. Also, we got Dr. Umar Johnson's website also in the Facebook groups too as well. Let's keep it rolling. Once again, Dr. Umar, thank you very much for coming on.
Thank you, my brother. Be blessed.
You too now, always. And this reached the conclusion of our show. This is the Charles Tyler Show, living on the grid. All right, with the Black Man's Option. For Dr. Umar Johnson and my man V. Always love V, my right-hand man. We are signing out. Catch you next week. Same black channel, same black time. Peace, brothers.
And now, an exclusive first look at the upcoming documentary, 7 a.m.
Because true economic science is a branch of military science. War and money go hand in hand. Most wars are fights so people can make more money. And war is money. That means what? That the European American is not about to prepare black children to compete with his children for control of the economic sector. It's not going to happen. So if black people want this science, we got to teach it, we got to study it, and we're going to have to make some mistakes in perfecting it because we're still babies in the water of global economic commerce. As African people, we are financially illiterate. So we should not be surprised that we're so economically backward because we were never taught how to be economically forward. Our education in America has not provided or prepared us to be able to compete with Europeans economically. The historically black college was designed to do what? Teach you how to work for white people. Public schools, charter schools, parochial schools, independent schools. What is the purpose of education in America for black children right now? To teach them how to make a living working for white people. But I don't want the kids coming to my school to be going to class thinking that I'm learning this so I can go and get paid by a white person. They're going to be empowered to start their own business. When they leave that school, they're going to go into business. And why do we need our people to be self-sufficient? Because when you're not self-sufficient, you can't speak your mind. One of the biggest reasons why black people have been so cowardly in the post-civil rights movement, not standing up for ourselves, standing up for our children, standing up against police brutality, we're scared to lose our jobs. We have to work. We got kids. I can't talk about the racism on my job. I might lose it. So the reason why we're not speaking our mind is because we don't have economic freedom. As Mr. Garvey said, Marcus Garvey said, that a solid racial program must be built on a solid economic foundation. Show me your economic condition, and I'll show you your political condition. The political economy of the black community rests on the premise that because they do not make their own money, they are enslaved to Europeans. And as a result of that, they will never be able to do what needs to be done to carve out a future for their children because the hand